So I'm going to take us through one decision tree, one person's kind of complicated health decision. The book is about how we can kind of think about these decisions more actively and more deliberately. And this fellow is Eddie Curry. Eddie Curry was a basketball player. In particular, he was a young man from Harvey, Illinois, who was drafted right out of high school to the Chicago Bulls. What he didn't know is that for the next several years, he embarked on this course that actually had a lot of impact on all of our lives. So, 2001, he was drafted. He was 6'11". He was a promising center for the Chicago Bulls, and he was the franchise player. He was going to take the team to the playoffs. And sure enough, by 2005, he did. They were in the playoffs, and Eddie Curry was the star. But warming up one day for a game against the Charlotte Hornets, he had heart arrhythmia, right? Irregular heartbeat. They were concerned that he was going to have a heart attack and die. They canceled the season. He was out for the rest of the season, and they sent Eddie Curry, the team, the Bulls sent around the country for the rest of the summer, going to different hospitals. The concern was that he had hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, which is called HCM. It's the undoing of these two basketball players. Are some of you familiar with these names? These guys both died on the court. HCM is a genetic condition. It's something that you can be perfectly healthy, but that your genes predispose your heart wall to be weak, and literally your heart will burst one day, which is what happened to Hank Gathers and Reggie Lewis. So the concern was that Eddie Curry had HCM. So as I say, he went around to all these hospitals, was worked up, got all these tests, all these stress tests, but he didn't want to get his DNA tested. He decided that that was not something he wanted to do. The Bulls, on the other hand, wanted him to get his genes tested. They wanted to know what his DNA said if he had his wrist. So it was a stalemate. So come September, it was contract renewal time for Eddie Curry. The Bulls said, great, here's $5 million. All you have to do is get your DNA tested. You get your DNA tested, you get the $5 million. This was Eddie Curry's decision tree as far as the Chicago Bulls were concerned. If he didn't take the DNA test, he had to quit. If he did take the DNA test and he was positive, he had to quit. But if he tested negative, he gets $5 million, he plays, he continues his career, it's great. Now Eddie Curry saw it a little differently. He saw his decision tree as he could not take the test, and maybe he had a chance of finding a different team to play with, in which case he could continue his career, but just not with the Chicago Bulls. And here's why it was a big deal. So remember, his employer was trying to compel him to get his DNA tested. He didn't want anybody to know about his DNA, but his employer, the Chicago Bulls and the NBA overall, in fact, was trying to pressure him into getting his DNA tested. Salvation came in the form of the New York Knicks. The New York Knicks offered to pick up Eddie Curry's contract, and he would not have to get his DNA tested. They just wanted him on the court. They wanted him as one of their important players. They thought that they saw the hope for the Knicks that the Bulls had previously, and so he suited up. He got his millions of dollars. He joined the Knicks, and the story isn't over because Eddie Curry had some, well, actually, first off, so as far as Eddie Curry was concerned, though, he had lucked out, right? He had scored, he had negotiated the decision tree perfectly. He had worked his way to this situation. The problem was there were some considerations that he wasn't thinking about. There were some implicit assumptions that he had made where he wasn't thinking. In particular, he wasn't thinking about what he ate. Eddie Curry liked to eat a lot. He was 6'11", okay? He weighed 285 pounds when he joined the NBA, but then he took to 300 pounds, 310 pounds, 320 pounds, 330 pounds, 340 pounds. By the 2008 season, Eddie Curry weighed 360 pounds. Now, he's 6'11", that's still a lot of weight, but the problem is he's a center. He's supposed to be able to jump up and down. And 360 pounds is a lot of weight to move. So his knees were giving out, and the Bulls sent him to a fat camp. What Eddie Curry had forgotten was that there were all these choices in his decision tree that he wasn't thinking about, right? It wasn't the genetics, it wasn't this kind of scary stuff. It was the basic stuff, his diet and nutrition that he wasn't thinking about. He had to be considering that. That was where he should have been putting the emphasis. So Eddie Curry is now, he played a whopping 7 games this season. And he's probably over his career. He's had multiple knee surgeries because of all that weight he's carried. The problem has not been his DNA at all. It was this very basic fundamental health decisions that he wasn't taking seriously. The silver lining, though, is that Eddie Curry paved the way for, and cases like this, paved the way for a new law, the Genetic Information Non-Discrimination Act, which makes it illegal for our employers or our insurance companies to compel us to get a DNA test or to use our DNA against us. So Eddie Curry's circumstances actually paved the way for all of us. And the lesson of Eddie Curry and for all of us is that little choices choices that we make in our lives matter. Those are the important ones for our. Thanks.